Welcome into the lounge presented by DraftKings. We are thrilled to sit down with center Tyler Linderbaum. And Tyler, I'll start here. So Lamar Jackson posted a video on social media from the locker room in which he had a character from Phineas and Ferb, which my 8-year-old knows Phineas. I don't know Phineas and Ferb, but for listeners at home who also may not know, it's kind of like this stocky guy, fists clenched. He looks kind of angry, buzz cut. He kind of looks like a tough guy, and he's basically comparing you to this character. So what do you think? Like, is he spot on? What do you think here?
I don't know if he's spot on.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure the viewers might think different, but it's a joke that Kyle Hamilton started last year.
Oh.
I think he posted it on social media. And then, Lamar has probably a little more followers than Kyle, so it attracted more attention, unneeded attention. So I'm honest, I don't know who the character is. I mean, obviously I've seen Phineas and Ferb just when I was little, but yeah, it was just something fun we do in the locker room.
Okay.
When he posted that, did your phone start blowing up from friends and random people who were like...
Honestly, I don't think anyone... I mean, maybe my girlfriend said something. Yeah. Maybe she agreed with him, but other than that, no.
That's funny. Well, this week, Tyler, you guys are headed to Tampa Bay, Monday Night Football game. And, one of the last times we had you on the podcast was after the game in Tampa Bay. So this is kind of the scene of the crime where you had a viral block. You put Devin White, the linebacker, on skates in that game. And that was a block that everybody took notice of in that game. It's kind of a coming out party. Like everyone's like, whoa, that is a legitimate block. Linderbaum's putting a really good linebacker on skates. What do you remember about that play?
Honestly, I don't even know if I blocked the right person on that play.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they brought like a blitz on the outside, and I think we were supposed to push it out, but that's a different time. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. But hey, it's playing the game hard, playing the game how it's supposed to be played, through the whistle. And I think, that's what I love about this place too. We got a lot of guys that kind of play like that. So, just trying to do my 111th.
Did that block do anything for you mentally, or like, there was just a lot of buzz like Garrett's talking about around that block. Like, was that anything for you personally in your career where you're like, all right, yeah, you know what? I'm pretty good at this thing. I'm gonna be all right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Anytime you have a block like that, it's fun. But you can't, I believe I let up a sack that game too. So I'm more worried about that than the block.
Right.
But
and that was your rookie season, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was kind of that was, to your point, like one of those moments where it was like, all right, Linderbaum's kind of arrives here as a really, solid player, but you didn't necessarily take it that way?
No, arrived. I hate that word because
really?
I never feel like I arrived, just always trying to continue to get better. No, yeah. I mean, when those plays happen, it's fun. People love it, but there's always stuff to be improving on and work on. But, it was an explosive play. And you got to see, Lamar kind of run around and do his thing. So
who's more fun to block, Devin White or Vita Vea? They're big D tackle.
Neither of them, but yeah, I mean, we're going to have a tough challenge this week. He's obviously been a top D tackle in the league for a while. It'll be a good challenge for us interior wise. He plays the game how it's supposed to be played.
Yeah.
So coming into this season, there was lots of questions about this offensive line. Every time you or anybody else along the offensive line was on podium in training camp, like you got peppered with questions on how's this offensive line going to be? You're replacing these starters, a lot of questions, concern, about this offensive line. And you basically took that head on, like when you would talk with the media and say like, yeah, it's unproven. We haven't done it yet. But now at this point of the season, 6 games in, had some early struggles, but this group has come together and is playing like one of the best offensive lines in football. What does that mean, and what does that show about this group?
Yeah, I think, anytime coming into the season, you lose, 3 starters. Obviously there's going to be questions. But, we know the group that we have in here. We know how hard we work and how great we want to be. 6 games in, are we close to where we want to be? No, but we're heading in the right direction for sure. Just continue to get improvement, continue to build that chemistry with each other on the line, I think is important. And there's still a lot of, stuff left out there in the games, but certainly heading in the right direction.
When you're running the ball as well as you all are right now, how much does that build the confidence and the cohesion of the line? And just what's that feeling like for you all?
Yeah, I mean, it helps when you have, Lamar and Derrick Henry back there to be able to run the ball. It's just our job to block it up right and stay on blocks. And the thing about, I think why our run game is being so successful is, not only, the running backs in the line, but also, tight ends, fullbacks, and the wide receivers. That's what creates explosive plays, which I think we've seen a lot of. It's a total team effort with, why that run game's been successful.
Why do you think, like Garrett said, you are playing like one of the top offensive lines? I think Pro Football Focus has you at number 10, the Ravens offensive line. Why do you feel like you all are playing better now than week 1, week 2?
I think just naturally, as the season progresses, you guys are going to start, feeling more comfortable, play better. Like I said, we have new starters in certain roles. So just guys stepping in and kind of getting that sense like, oh, I can do this. Like I'm here for a reason. And I think it's just a little bit of that. I'm playing with more confidence. And it's an exciting group. But, we're staying hungry, continue to try to get better.
I'm curious, what is it like? One of the new starters is Daniel Faalele to your right. And, it's well documented that he took some heat early on and he's been playing really well these last couple of games. But what is it like for you playing next to him? Because he's like maybe the biggest guy in the NFL. I mean, he's huge. And like you've never played next to a guard that big. So what is it like? Do you change anything when you have someone that big playing next to you?
Yeah, I mean, some of the things that he's capable of doing just with how big he is and how well he can move, it's pretty awesome. And I think with him, like there's some plays in there where he's getting his pad under guys and like they can't do anything about it. And just being consistent with that is what he's gotten better at. And he's a guy where he's his confidence keeps going up and up. Because he plays the game at a really high level. And to where, we're continuing to get better and better as a unit. That's how we got to play. That's how we got to think.
How have you kind of helped mentor him as he's gained that confidence and whatnot?
I'm just being myself. Just going out there playing hard, trying to get guys communication in the right spots. The better I communicate, the more confidence guys can be. I don't want any questions or doubts out there on the field. So, I mean, that's the job of a center is, try to get everyone on the same page. And then once that ball snaps, balls to the walls.
How has your leadership changed now in year 3? We talked about, rookie year going to Tampa Bay. Now going back there in year 3 for you, how has your leadership changed?
I don't know. I feel like I'm the same person. I don't know. You'd probably have to ask someone who's been here. I feel like I'm the same. It's just, that's kind of the role of the center position. You don't really have time to kind of like slowly build up. You got to step in and be confident with what you're doing, and know what you're doing. So I don't know.
It's interesting. Like we had Ronnie on a few weeks ago and he was pretty open about the fact that in some ways he kind of viewed himself as like the cheerleader of the offensive line and that like he's the veteran player and there's a lot of questions and he felt like it was important for him to be like building confidence.
Stick up for those guys.
Yeah, exactly. Like when there's heat and there's questions, even like in practice with Lamar, like getting on him and Ronnie standing up for the offensive line and just feeling like, that was part of his role.
Yeah.
Do you see is that part of your role at all? Like how do you kind of view yourself in that equation as a leader along this offensive line?
Yeah, I think, I view it as, the O-line's job is to do what the O-line's supposed to do, It's to take care of us 5 and, not worry about all the stuff going around and what's going on. So, that's the biggest part is just communication wise, us being on the same page. Ronnie definitely does, he's ever since I got here, he's always a guy asking questions, coach, what if this happens? Coach, what are we doing here? And I think he does a tremendous job with that because there's sometimes where guys are thinking it, but they're afraid to ask. And Ronnie does a good job of just asking those questions. But at the end of the day, we're worried about us 5 and, what we can do. And we're not worried about, other outside stuff.
I'm just picturing when there's outside criticism, you go into Phineas and Ferb mode. You just clenched fists, right? Just like that. That's what I'm imagining right now in my head.
That personality.
Exactly. You talk about Derrick Henry and that it's easier to block when you have Derrick Henry in the backfield. What's it like when Derrick Henry runs up behind? Are you I got to clear this hole because if Derrick Henry hits me from behind, this is not going to feel good.
Yeah. There was a moment in walkthrough last week, we're just walking through and I go up on a linebacker, and he just comes behind me and just smokes me. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, that hurts. And he's just laughing. Yeah, like, you got to get out of the man's way. Like, I can't imagine it's very fun, for, DBs to try to tackle him.
Right.
But yeah, the thing about, Derrick, he plays the game the right way. He runs extremely hard, hits holes, really fast. And, he's a really fun guy to block for. You saw it with the Titans, and now, we're just excited that he's a Raven.
Kind of the cliche is he wears teams down. There's a difference in the fourth quarter. Teams don't want to tackle him. He's at his best, late in the season, late in games. So for you on the field, like, do you feel that? Is there any different mentality knowing, like, in the fourth quarter or in overtime in Cincinnati, when you have him and he can carry the ball, that you're basically in good hands? Like, now he's going to be at his best. So do you feel that? And is there any difference in mentality because of it?
Yeah, I think that's, ever since I've been here, that's kind of been, the Ravens' identity is, being able to run the ball efficiently, first, second, and that third and fourth quarter come around, being able to wear teams down. And he certainly adds, another element to that, making it more difficult for defenses. And then also you have Lamar. So, yeah, it's two special players back there. It's fun to experience all that with them.
The offense as a whole is on pace for some pretty historic marks. Like, is that at all a talking point among the offense and the offensive line? Like, let's get that record for the most rushing yards in NFL history.
No. I mean, we're worried about this week. And all that's just a byproduct of, continue to win games and continue to play at a high level. When you start worrying about records when we're only 6 games in, no, that's a bigger issue.
So, you've played with Lamar obviously through your whole career, and a big focus this offseason was the pre-snap stuff for Lamar, and Todd Monken talked about putting more on his plate and all that kind of stuff. As the center who is also responsible for a lot of that communication, what has it been like with Lamar? Is it a little bit different this year in terms of him changing plays, him identifying what's coming from the defense and all that?
Yeah, I think we've done, a really good job of, adding tools in to get us in and out of certain things.
Yeah.
And then Lamar's back there, he's controlling everything, and he's done a tremendous job. And it's something, we're continuing to get better at. And just, the more tools you can add to his toolbox, the better. And he's already playing at a high level, and just going to make him better.
Is there a level of communication between the two of you that really has to exist? Because, that communication oftentimes funnels through you also. Can you just talk about what that relationship is like?
Yeah, certainly. Anytime, certain run looks or, pass protections, he has a little better view than me sometimes, to where I maybe cannot see things, and he can, change protections or flips and whatnot. But yeah, he's done a tremendous job, and that's where we have to be on the same page. Is he has to know where we're going, and I have to know where he knows we're going. So communication is just the most important thing for sure.
He's won 2 MVPs, obviously won it last year, but a lot of people think, I think both of us maybe included, like, he might be playing his best football ever. Have you ever seen him play better than he is right now?
No. Obviously being here for 2-3 years, he's playing at an extremely high level. And it's certainly fun to, I think last year and then into this year is the highest that I've seen him play at, just being a part of it. But yeah, he's just an electric player. The things that he can do is pretty incredible. Like, talking back to the Bengals game, the play on the sideline, like, there's not many quarterbacks that can do that. And his ability to extend plays is pretty special.
What was your perspective on that play?
Honestly, I think we were long in a drive, and I was pretty tired. I blocked my guy maybe for 2 seconds, and turned around. I didn't realize the ball was on the ground,
right.
Which was an issue. But yeah, it's pretty incredible. I saw him running, stiff arm, and then he threw it up. And I was tired. I'm like, please catch it, Zay. Please catch it. And he did. So we got a little break. Yeah, that's just the playmakers we have and the things that Lamar is able to do. It's fun.
Are you kind of wondering, like, what's going on back there? Like, I snapped it. He's like trying to scoop. Like, you can't look. You can't turn around and look at what's going on. Like, what goes through your mind?
Well, you can kind of hear the Bengals crowd like get a little more excited. Right.
Right.
Like usually they're not excited right away when I, unless they're
Like
cheering
something
for me,
happened.
unless they're cheering for me snapping the ball.
Yeah.
But I knew that wasn't the case. But yeah, you can kind of hear the background noise, like, oh, something's up.
Right.
And then the, D linemen act a little different, trying to go for the ball. But yeah, just preferably we don't want the ball on the ground. That's for starters.
Right.
Similar question to what I asked you about Derrick Henry and how that changes mentality. When you have Lamar Jackson as your quarterback, we've got these clips from our Wired show that just indicate the mentality basically being like, we got number 8, we're going to be okay. Like, we can climb out of this hole. He's going to make something happen. Like, as a player on this offense, as a leader of this team, when you have Lamar Jackson, how does that affect the overall mentality of the offense, knowing like this guy can make things happen at any point of a game?
Yeah, that's certainly true. But also, we don't want Lamar to, we want him to play free. We don't want the pressure to be like, God, I got to make a play.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we got a lot of playmakers. With Derrick, Hill, and then obviously the receiving core and tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want Lamar to feel pressure that he has to go out there and make a play. I think when he's playing free, he's playing confident. That's when he's at his best.
I'm curious for you personally. It feels like you're becoming one of these guys where it's like, oh, Tyler just goes to the Pro Bowl every year, right? And like, just you've established yourself at that level. And I know, like you said, like you hate the word, you've arrived,
Yeah,
right? And like you're going to be a guy that wants to get better and better. But what is it that drives you to keep striving to get better? What's your personal motivation?
Yeah, I think each game you got to go out and prove yourself, that you can play at a high level, and each season's a new season. Whatever happened last season, you got a different group, you got a different team. So none of that stuff really matters. It's the stuff that you put the work into the off season, and then coming into the season camp, and then, playing at a high level. It's a tough league. It's hard to play at a high level. And defenders are getting harder and harder to block. So just kind of have that mentality, continue to get better and better. Yeah. And you never arrived,
What is it about defenders that are making them harder and harder to block, you think?
Bigger, faster, stronger. So you got to just keep working hard to try to get to that level.
Right.
Do you care about being viewed as the best center in football?
No, I'm just worried about my job. I think I've always been a firm believer. It's ever since I came to Iowa, or when I was at Iowa too, like, when you're winning games, like there's going to be, a lot of accolades that come with it. Guys on the team are getting accolades. But if you're not winning games, everyone's going to talk shit about you, and they're not going to say you're a good player. So I'd much rather, just win football games, and then all that stuff is going to take care of itself at the end of the season. Yeah. And if you get the accolades, great. If you don't, hey, we're winning a lot of football games. You
bring up Iowa, another great Iowa blocker in Ravens history, Marshal Yanda. How much have you learned from Marshal?
Yeah, I think, when I first got here, he was one of the first guys to reach out, just learning about the area. But also just hearing players talk about him. Coach D would always talk about Marshal, just how great of a player he was, leader, and just the way he played the game. There's a reason why he's going to be a Hall of Famer, because every snap, the intensity that he's going to play at, which you respect. And it's hard to do. It's hard to play at that intensity each and every snap for that long. And it's something that makes him so great. Yeah.
Is that kind of what, like, your mentality is not necessarily, all right, I'm sure part of it, it's like, I have to improve this part of my game, the technique and all that stuff. But for you, is that part of it? It's like, I just need to be that consistent, that intense every snap. And that's how greatness is made. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that. And like, obviously Marshal, he didn't wake up, one day. It's over time to where that's his mindset. Yeah. He told himself, this is how I'm going to play. I'm not going to speak for him, but I'm assuming. Yeah. But he made that choice to play at a high level, and it's hard to do. But yeah, I mean, it's just something that's ingrained into me. Each and every day you gotta bring it, and you gotta continue to get better. And if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. So I think that's a good mentality to have. Yeah. Okay. So as you talk about basically establishing yourself as a great player, one thing that stands out to me in that regard is this. There's limited opportunities, I feel like, for offensive linemen to have like celebrations. You don't have too many celebration moments. But
you had a block this year that was, to me, like peak offensive lineman celebration, which is where you block the dude like 10 yards down the field.
It was a very Devin White-esque block.
You block the dude 10 yards down the field.
This was the long. You're talking about the long run by Derrick against the Bills. It was the early fourth quarter, the long run by him on the toss left that brought us down to like the 2-yard line. He almost scored early fourth quarter, basically put the game away.
Yeah,
but then you get up and you do the look away. You do the Steph Curry shoot the 3-pointer, turn your back, start running the other direction.
He just was walking. He's just walking
before the ball has even swished through the net.
If
like
I'm
you did that.
Talking about the same play. Well, I think the reason maybe why I was looking back was seeing if I got called for a flag.
No, you were strutting back to the line.
Honestly, yeah, we'll go with that. It was a no look.
It was a no look.
Yeah.
It was definitely a no look play. You can say
that was O-line swag.
That was O-line swag.
That was the swaggiest an O-lineman's ever looked.
Swaggy or witty enough to like pull that off, but thank you for the compliment.
I'm giving you credit.
All right, and I'll end it on. Actually, no, I do have 2 more questions. One, how good is Travis Jones going to be? Because we kind of talked about this in the locker room. Yeah, you've blocked that guy a lot in practice. How good is he going to be?
Unbelievable. Yeah, the sky's the limit for Travis. And we're already seeing it right now. You know, he's playing at such a high level. You know, he's just his size and strength, and just processing the game and understanding the game and using his abilities. He's going to be a very special player, and he's a guy that just works his tail off and wants to be great. So excited for him.
And then my second question is, so just to pull back the curtain, you know, we were talking to Pat McCary about doing this lounge interview, and Pat, you know, he was like, you know, let me think about it. I'll get back to you tomorrow. And then I was like, but he's going to say no.
Screw you, Pat.
So we appreciate you taking Pat's spot.
He said the only way I'd do it is if you're on there with me.
Oh, we should have done that.
So next time, let's get we can pull up a chair right there.
Yeah, you just earned yourself another appearance.
That's true.
You and Pat together.
Shoot.
Well, Tyler, thanks for doing this. Thanks for taking Pat's spot. We really appreciate it, bud.
No problem. Thank you.
Welcome back into the Lounge Podcast. We are coming to you from the SeatGeek studio. We also want to mention our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. They are an official sports betting partner of the Baltimore Ravens. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. So thanks to Tyler for joining us today. I think you said it to him, and I totally agree with it. He's put himself in the category now where he's just going to be one of the best centers in football. Mm-hmm. And like when the Pro Bowl team comes out, he's going to be on that list, I think, for a long time. That's like the level that he's playing at. And I think that people are just going to look at him for the next decade as like Tyler Linderbaum. He's one of the best. Yeah. I mean, when a center is drafted in the first round, I feel like that's always kind of the conversation. It's like, all right, they just got their center for the next 10 years and you know, Pro Bowl center here. But we say that, but it doesn't always come to fruition. Yeah. And Tyler is playing at a consistency level where I think it will come to fruition. Like, he's that good. He's also proven all the concerns about his size, about his arm length, all that stuff. He's proven all that wrong. Yeah, right? Totally. And it's a credit to him. And he's a modest guy, as listeners I'm sure can glean from the interview. He's not going to toot his own horn. That's just not what an offensive lineman does, especially him. But like, we'll toot it for him. I mean, he is a major part of why this running game is so good right now, and the pass pro, and why Lamar's having all the success he's having. I think if you're looking at this team, like, Tyler's one of the most important players on this team. Oh, 100%. All that he does pre-snap, and then obviously once the play's happening, he's a great blocker. He's excellent at his job, but he's a leader. He understands everything that happens in front of him. And I think that he's one of the reasons that with all the changes along this offensive line, that they've been able to get up to speed quickly. And like, he's got new starters next to him on both sides. Now, Pat McCary, who's been playing the last couple of games as a veteran player, of course, but obviously, Faalele on the right side is new to that position and to the starting lineup. But I just think that Tyler's presence there in the middle of the offensive line helps everybody around him. He's a force multiplier. I think it's also fun because just to give listeners a little behind the curtain insight here, is like, he and Pat McCary are boys, if you couldn't tell by the end there, you know, and it's cool to see them working side by side, you know, and blocking people up. And like, they are very tight in the locker room, and always like kidding around with each other, busting each other's, you know, chops and stuff. And so I think that
that bond certainly has helped. And Pat is, a very unique player. Tyler has many times called him a unicorn in his ability to play everywhere. And that's been big for the offensive line success. I think Roger Rosengarten, obviously being a rookie and playing at a high level, has been huge. And as we talked about, Daniel Faalele and the way that he's gained confidence, and you can just see him playing more confidently. All of that together with Tyler being a leader and Ronnie Stanley returning to kind of his Pro Bowl form, like he said, this offensive line is trending up. They're not there yet, but they're all five of them are going in a really good direction. I think that's why the Ravens don't want to break it up right now.
Look, John Harbaugh said before the season, the Ravens had confidence that this was going to be a really good offensive line by the time it's all said and done. I think a lot of people, shook their head at that notion and kind of questioned it and, felt like that he was just, blowing smoke.
Or basically were they too overconfident? Were they too cocky in their ability to replace these veterans?
And he's been proven right. He's been proven right that
That's
this
right.
group. And if the Ravens, I know it's only through 6 games, and as Tyler said, they're not worried about a record. But this offense has the potential to be historic, potentially with their success on the ground. They might be, if they continue at this pace, they will be the best rushing offense to ever play the game.
Yep.
And you can't have a bad offensive line if you have that record. So correct. I think that this offensive line has come together really well. And if the strides that they've made from week 1 to week 6, and if they continue to build off of that, if that's the marker for how they're going to improve the rest of the way, then we are going to be looking at this at the end of the year as, man, the offensive line is the strength of this team, hopefully going into the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tyler Linderbaum's at the center of that.
Yeah. Awesome. So as always, we'd love to hear your emails and read those emails. So you can email us at thelounge@ravens.nfl.net. We appreciate those. Also, make sure you head over to the Ravens Press Pass podcast feed, subscribe to that feed as well. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and we'll be back with you again soon.